Well, after listening to 7 or so presentations, I hope with that glimpses of slides, it wraps up in a manner that, well, when we are planning the next generation network, we are not working all alone and we are not working blind. I think we walk every inch and every part of that alongside hand-holding with our expert group, as well as the partners at the regulatory departments, sections, as well as the knowledge bank coming from all the solutions and technologies. So I would like to take a few more minutes of your time to just share with you what had been or what is being planned for Penang in order to have this network realized with certain time frame. I think it will impact on the various stakeholders. The telecommunication operators might ask, will you move my cheese? Or will you eat my lunch? No, I'm going to give an assurance that no, we have roles tailor-made for each and every one of us. And for the real estate developers, the question asked might be, when can I have it? How do I synchronize my timetable with yours and yours with mine? I think that's one of the critical questions that we need to address. And for the civil engineering contractors, for example, we have set benchmarks, standards, so that we can echo the call by the Chief Minister that we wanted to have a world-class infrastructure in order to support a world-class city. So what would be the benchmark that we have to adhere to? I think some of the questions had been answered along the way during the past 7 presentations. Okay, just because under the same roof we have so many sets of the fraternities coming together, so I'd like to take this opportunity to brief everybody on what actually PDC Telco is doing. As we all know, PDC stands for Penang Development Corporation, is the commercial arm or the investment arm of the Penang state government. So in a way, we are a stakeholder within the Penang state government, doing our respective roles when it comes to modernizing Penang for our second phase of economic expansion. So basically, as the subsidiary of PDC, and we are in charge of telecommunication infrastructure, the company is just about 6 years old. We had been given a certain jurisdiction to take care of the infrastructure in several ways. And all in all, we are the authorized implementer for telecommunication common trenching for the Chief Ministers Incorporated. Chief Minister Incorporated is yet another agency within the Penang state government stable of companies, and it deals with a lot of authority over land matters and a lot of authority over land use and so on. So we were put through tests. PDC Telco was put to test. We were given through an EXCO decision that beginning April 2011, we were given the jurisdiction to be the sole implementer on behalf of Chief Ministers Incorporated for the common trenching fiber optics network. It covers only the island. So all of our work, research, and planning involves fiber optics infrastructure for the island. And we were given a further jurisdiction September 2012, this year, that the areas that we oversee covers the Penang Island as well as Seberang Perai. So this was recently given to us. So we will place that as a parcel 2 or the phase 2 of our planning, overall planning for the common trenching project for Penang. And along the way, in order to facilitate a well-coordinated project rollout, so we were also given a task to act as a one-stop center for all telecommunication operators when it comes to the trenching permits, whether it regards to the main access or the short distance accesses to the buildings as well as homes. And it is here that we emphasize several times to the operators that we only expect contractors who adhere to set standards, who adhere to benchmarks that we need to scrutinize the performance. And that is where we understand some of the work cultures, and there are certain things that we want to do better than before. And apart from being the key implementer for the project, the fiber optic common trenching project, as well as the OSA for all the permits application, we are also the manager and custodian of a statewide data bank for underground utilities mapping vis-a-vis the telecommunications common trenching. So I think in the past few months, we have come up to the press, we have spoken to the industry players, and we emphasize on a few imperatives. So one is that we are here not to eat anybody's lunches, but we are here to help phase in the big data era by having this fiber optics network deployed in Penang. And the second part is that we also wanted to promote seamless middle mile as well as last mile fiber broadband connectivity to Penang's real estates. I think I said something along that line during my opening remarks. And the other portion is that it has been mentioned by Dr. Muhammad Awanglah during his keynote address, saying that the current scenario, we have the war of the titans, big players are competing each other, and that really leaves no room for the small players or the new players to enter. The barrier to entry is rather daunting. So we would like to be a neutral player in the sense that we facilitate a level playing field for all the telecom service providers to come in. Not only the big boys, the established tier one operators, but as well as the newcomers. And so that, for example, we are hearing that the LTE, the next generation beyond 3G, the licenses have been given to 9 operators. So we are going to see a bigger crowd besides the existing 3 big boys. So how do we manage that in order for everybody to provide healthy competition so that in the long run, the end users, the consumers get to enjoy all the benefits? And the other portion is that we are also, like what I said, we wanted to provide the playing field as a neutral partner, a neutral player, so that there would be a healthy competition environment and all telecommunications can provide the best of all service, best in class service, rather than just best effort. And of course, with healthy competition, we expect to reduce the cost of ownership for the broadband users, be they the public sector, the government agencies, the multinational companies, the enterprise residential. So that's why when we sat on the drafting board, what we wanted to create out of this next generation network is basically we have an array of potential customers in front of us. We are thinking about the telecommunication operators, could be 10 to 12 of them. We are going to serve them. We are also thinking about the multinational companies which made Penang what it is today, the Intel, the Western Digital, and so on in Bayan Lepas free trade zone, Perai, Bukit Minyak, as well as in the future, Batu Kawan in a bigger way. And we're also thinking about the big players in the real estate development sector, where you have new products, new development zones being cropping up. You have big boys from SP Sotia, IGM, Ivory, ENO, and so on coming together. And I think those are the opportunities that Penang can redeem its self-esteem that we wanted to surpass other cities in the region. But how do you configure our hardware and software together in order to provide that cutting-edge positioning? And we're also thinking about making Penang as the destination of choice for all investments and also commercial activities. We're thinking along the lines of the broking houses, the banks, and outsourced services that are quite prevalent in Penang, for example. How do we help them to network with the other part of the world that as if they are operating next to each other like neighbors? So bandwidth is one of the key parameters. So what we see right now is that we already have some form of fiber optics presence on the island as well as on the mainland, but not many of us really get to enjoy such services, or the presence of such network has really not become prevalent or ubiquitous. Why? So I think we wanted to make some very serious comment saying that yes, there are service coverage in certain areas, but operators, they had been implementing their own fiber optic networks. And most of these trenching activities are catered or tailor-made along single operator use, rather than having a one common big highway that can be shared by many. So that is where you get to see the call for ROI, the call for return on investment is rather daunting. So the operators will have no choice but to look for those high demand areas, faster return areas. So if that is being allowed to happen, then we are going to go back to the same era during the DSL days, where a certain form of cherry picking, where the operators will harvest the lower lying branches of fruits. And in the site survey, it took us quite a fair bit of time to come to this, that we have identified 5 key routes. 5 key routes denoted by different colors. And we are here to complement the NSPs, the network service providers, namely the operators. Our value proposition to the NSP is basically this. If you want to have your service to be ubiquitously rolled out on day one, you can't find that kind of CAPEX. You can't get that CAPEX approved by your board of directors overnight. So we are going to pick up your CAPEX. We'll allow you a time frame, a window of, say, 6 to 8 years to pay us back, if not faster. Then we will have win-win situation. Something that can only be realized in 6 years' time. When you get hold of all your CAPEX, you'll be provided for right from year one. But you help us to come and populate this place, and then we will pick up our investment over a period of time. But you can get a service rolled out and reach your customers at a quicker pace. So that's the value proposition we proposed to everybody. As you can see, we do not collide, but we complement each other. So that's my assurance to all the operators to answer question 1. We are not here out to eat your lunch. We are not here out to move your cheese. It's basically to complement each other so that we have all this benefit of a seamless fiber optics network available at a faster pace. So with that in mind as our key imperative, so what we will do by going back to the authority given to us by the state government through Chief Ministers Incorporated is that we will try to avoid overlaps, any overlaps with our statewide local area network. I just call that the big local area network. Our footprint, the overlaps will be greatly reduced, which means we'll be very stringent when it comes to approving applications by single operator trenching. Remember the imperative that was mentioned earlier today, that this concept of common trenching is to ensure that we reduce or we minimize inconvenience to the road users, to reduce damages to the public assets, to the lowest level possible. So we are looking at dig once and use it over a long time kind of deployment. So we will avoid all the overlaps, and operators, I think they have been hearing from us what we intend to do. I think they are responding very well by planning their routes and to have their footprints planned early on. So that's what we wanted to do, but can it really be done? I think what is lacking is that in so many similar concepts that we have been hearing in the region, in the country, or even throughout the world, that there's a lot of thunder and roar, but there's just practically no rain. As I context this in the form of a Chinese proverb. You hear a lot of thunder, but there's no rain. Yeah, I think we wanted to avoid that pitfall as well. So we are looking at a few things. In terms of how we roll this out, yes, because we are ourselves a licensee from MCMC, so we are licensed to engage in several telecommunications related activities, and one of which is to provide infrastructure and also ducts. So number one, at the ground level, we will be the owner of the dump pipes and the ducts. Yeah, but that is not where the excitement is, because you still need to put the cable. Yeah, we'll have certain concepts to share with the operators. This will be held on a different opportunities. Let's take a look on how we can really mutually benefit out of the fibers that we're going to insert in the ducts that we have. But of course, we also have to think about providing cost-effective wholesale bandwidth with a view to reducing the end user cost in the long run. So that is where we will plan, or we have planned to work with the friendly parties to be our joint venture partners in order to roll out that bandwidth wholesale portion of the entire project. And this will be announced when the timing is right. Now, beyond the last mile connection, that is where the RSP, that is where the NSP will take over. So if you are a provider for internet services, if you are a provider for IPTV, if you are a provider for voice calls or the triple play, PDC Telco is not going to get involved in this, because that is primarily your customers, your domain. We are just here as a facilitator in terms of network facilities. And we are looking at, well, bandwidth again. So whether to what dimension the capacity for bandwidth is required, I think we can scale that out and we can have it planned together. So after the workshop, there will be more discussion, interaction with the service providers, with the real estate developers and owners, and also with the owners of the multinational corporations and so on, to start to look at the bandwidth each organization requires. So that is something that we'll engage each other from now on. And of course, when we talk about having our primary customers among the operators, and the operators' partners have their respective customers to deal with. So service level agreement is an unavoidable imperative. So this is where we'll work together to determine what is the industry needs, and also we'll determine which particular industry is coming from, so that the service level will never be compromised. So in terms of fiber to the home services, like I said, all the way to the wall plug, to the set-top box, and whatever devices that you get to distribute all the applications and solutions, even content. So that is where two parties can gain. Number one, the operators who are in the triple play sector. Number two are the property owners themselves, because we have to pass through your conduit. We have to pass through your right of way. So you have a say, you are a stakeholder. So that is something that we will work together and see we can generate a mutual win-win-win situation for everyone along the value chain. But all in all, we are appealing to the real estate developers that when you configure, when your engineers, architects, planners configure your product, please do consider that the riser that you are going to build, the telecommunication riser that you are going to build, from the basement where you house your telecommunications room, for example, please accommodate at least more than one operator so that your customers, your tenants have the alternative or have the benefit of choice. If they are not satisfied with the service rendered by operator one, at least he has the option of switching over to provider two that is not done in a painful way. So that is what we are going to appeal to the real estate developers. Whether cost is a determinant of attractiveness of your product, I think we can have a lot of workouts coming from our FTTH council members. They can give you a set of comparative figures to look at, where the deployment by incorporating fiber optics network within your buildings or even these multiple dwelling units, that can be catered for. So for the operators, I think what they are concerned about is basically how this service will be priced. We have been hearing this. We put it in a very subtle and mild manner that, number one, there's only one company in Penang who can perform the digging, which means no other telcos have the right or will be given the permission to do their own digging. And that had been enforced since early this year. So what will happen if the common trenching, going by the definition of common trenching, it means one common conduit being shared by many on a neutral playground. So that is where the operators will be very concerned about how the tariff structure is going to be. Well, we have to go back to the existing tariff that you are paying your wholesale broadband, wholesale bandwidth, wholesale provider. At what level they are charging you, for example. And this, we have a lot of rooms to play with. I don't want to give a figure right now because we are still determining our final cost of implementation by going by using or adopting some specific methodologies when it comes to the civil engineering portion. So, but what we can assure right now is that the bandwidth within the statewide network that we have, we are going to guarantee you very much lower tariff than what you are currently paying the wholesalers. So I leave this cliffhanger without determining the specifics for now. Why I have to do so is because currently we have engaged specialists to help us convince the regulators, the local governments, the public works department that along that 250 kilometers length of our island-wide network, we want to deploy quite a higher percentage by the micro-trenching methodology, which you have recently witnessed from Marais, from France. So, however, there are certain concerns when it comes to the depth of the trench and so on. So we have simulated the test by commissioning IKRAM to help us arrive at a determined finding. And that finding is ready to be shared after the State Assembly is over. Now, if that can result in a positive outcome, that will impact greatly on our cost in implementation. And based on that final cost, we can work out on certain level of commitment to the operators when it comes to the final tariff. So give us a couple more of weeks and then we'll work this out. So in a way, we are telling you that we have come to so much of details when it comes to the planning. So the implementation, I think you may want to know, operators may want to know, developers may want to know about a few things. Where are we right now? For the Penang Island, because we are given the task last year, it's a whole new competency for all of us at PDC Telco. And so we have to handhold with the experts. And we took quite a fair bit of time to do the planning and as well as the architecture that involved field surveys, and on-site surveys to collect the data and so on. But we are glad to say that after a year of detailed planning, the next generation network, the footprint at the street level, as well as the architecture is completed. So we are moving to the second phase. We are conducting the underground detection of the utility, and we put it on the digital map so that we can avoid accidents when it comes to the deployment at the civil engineering level. When you're doing the trenching, we do not damage any of the utilities currently present underground. And we expect this to be done, to be completed by the end of the year. Open tender will be called somewhere early part of January, and the commencement of work is somewhere that we place at the end of first quarter, and it will be conducted concurrently along the 5 routes on the island that I've displayed, and then we expect full operation to be ready by Q2, that is before June 2014. Now that will give some indication for planners at the real estate sector, whereby if you are planning something, new products, whether it's residential, commercial, mixed development, perhaps you like to get appointment and talk to us, looking at whether your location of the project location coincides with where our footprint is, and you would like to look at how soon that can be deployed. Right now on greenfield areas like IGM, the Light, for example, the developer has engaged service providers as well as service providers, contractors, up to the fiber to the home solutions. They worked pace without realizing about what PDC Telco has planned in terms of the main trunk access. So it will be great that if all these parties can come together, and that let's take a relook in order to prevent wastage, in order to prevent delays. As for the mainland, it's only recently that we obtained the jurisdiction and the authority to oversee the rollout of common trenching in Seberang Perai. So we have placed that as our phase 2 of deployment. So the footprint and architecture still ongoing, early stage of data collection, and we target to implement it and having it fully operational by Q2 2015, if not earlier. So we talked a fair bit about the emblem system, and I hope to hear echoes, feedback, and also conversations with the real estate developers, how we can implement together. I promised Dato' Jerry Chan that this process is going to be an inclusive process whereby viewpoints, input from the real estate industries are greatly appreciated, so that we put all this together. But we are also taking it a step further with FTTH Council. I think the first step we want to do is that we apply, PDC Telco will apply to be a member of FTTH Council Asia Pacific, perhaps, and then we work together with SKMM in order to give the stature until such time that, you know, the putting fiber optics and fiber to the home solutions become a standard operating procedure. Then perhaps the emblem system will take a different stature. So I do not want to repeat on all this. So lastly, I want to emphasize what I recapped earlier on, that when we worked on this next generation network, we are not working it alone, we are not working it blind. We have navigational assistance from good partners all around, and I'd like to recap who they are. In terms of network design, implementation, operation, and even maintenance, we have good partners from the Neutral Transmission Malaysia, Chanjiran Berhad, of which the CEO is none other than Dr. Muhammad Awanglah. We shared common things. One, healthy competition in service providing. Two, to inculcate this better cost in terms of ownership, cost of ownership among the end users. And third one, and most importantly, is that PDC Telco and MyNewTrans commonly believe that we are here to be a neutral player rather than taking sides, whether we are pro demand side or the supply side. It's basically based on that we are sharing our proposition to you. Emblem system will be a core component of this next generation network, and for this, internally, we will work very closely with the Penang State government, right from CMI to the entire EXCO and down to the approval authorities who approve the building plans for the real estate applications. Because one of the key things that we are looking at is that if you value add on your products with FTTH solutions, I think that would be the point of reference when consumers look for differentiators in the products that they are potentially buying. So we will be evaluating on how soundly configured in terms of architecture, in terms of civil and construction issues related to the provisioning of the super fast broadband through the fiber optics. We are also looking at the hardware that you deploy at the consumer equipment level, and the people who will be managing one way or another to prevent downtime of services to the house, to the dwellers. And this will be inclusive of looking at the competency of your own people at the management corporation or the JMB, or even the M&E personnel employed by the real estate developer side to manage all your facilities that you own at one point. And then the other portion is that in order to promote uptake, so that's where collaboration between the real estate owners and the operators will become very, very important. Apart from providing IPTV services, there will be a lot more applications and content that will cut across the triple play data, voice, as well as videos. So with that, I leave behind some famous last words. When you are planning for fiber broadband connectivity to your real estate in Penang, don't just think of Telekom Malaysia or Jabatan Telekom Malaysia. I think it's high time that you start talking to nice people at PDC Telco, people like us. Thank you so much.